Alright, so we've got the new Jordan Peele produced movie, not Jordan Peele written or directed by. Jordan Peele produced movie, Him. And it just doesn't make sense. The more I think about this movie, the less I understand about it. It is a movie that had me asking hundreds of questions, and as the movie progressed, you should be getting answers for these questions, but instead I just had more questions. And that's never a good sign. Especially since the answers to some of the questions I had were given, and by some of the questions, I mean like one of them they actually answered. Instead, they answered questions that I was not asking, and then made me have to ask questions on why is it like that specifically. And thus, it answered questions that created new questions because I did not even think about those questions beforehand, which is just really dumb. It tries to be a sports movie, it tries to be a horror movie, but the problem is that there is no real need for the horror in the way that they did it. They could have made a pretty good sports-based horror movie, but they didn't set it up properly in the first half of the movie, and then by the time they get to the second half of the movie, they decide, oh yeah, we're gonna completely forget about the sports part. And it's gonna come up very, very infrequently. Like, the first half I'm like, oh, okay, I'm starting to get it. I think maybe the second half will explain it. The second half explains something, but it doesn't really connect well with the first half. And thus, you are getting a movie of two halves that don't connect well with each other. They barely make sense on their own, and thus leaves you, the viewer, unsatisfied with the final product of the film. And so, I don't understand what they were trying to tell. If it's a cautionary tale on, like, the pre-draft process or, like, build, like, the student-athlete process, I don't think it does a good job of that. Especially since I think Inside Out 2 last year does a better job of capturing a student-athlete perspective on the world through the emotional spectrum lens, and this movie just doesn't really do a good job of doing that through the horror lens, because it is a completely like, it's not even an uninspired plot. It's a completely it wasn't really fully fleshed out, I guess, underdeveloped plot. There we go. Like, they had these ideas, but they didn't know how to connect the ideas, and thus we are left with this, which is leaving you to go, what was it? I think one of the strong parts is the visuals. The visual style of the film, I think, is actually pretty good, but they do a cool trick once, and they're like, oh, we're gonna be known for this. But that cool trick works once because it's fresh, it's new, but if you use it more than once, it gets old really quickly. And when they used it the second time, visually it is just clutter. And it made me less aware of what was going on the screen, and it got me asking even more questions, like, why did they think this was the good idea? Like, I do admit it looks pretty good, but it actually hurts my eyes to try to follow what's happening. And if it's hurting your eyes, it's going to be harder to follow because you're not going to be able to see as well. And it's already difficult to see, which is why it was also hurting the eyes. I just think that this movie has a lot of good ideas, but it doesn't flesh any of them out enough to make a good, solid feature. And the problem, I think another problem with it is how condensed its runtime is. It is a 97-minute movie. It did not feel like a 97-minute movie. It felt longer, and you don't want a movie to feel longer than its runtime. But yeah, I think that there were a lot of good ideas. There was some good visual crafting of the movie. But in the end, it doesn't even matter because nothing really adds up, and you leave with more questions than answers about the movie. And like you watch the trailers and you're like, oh, what is this movie going to be like, and what's it going to be about? You leave the movie and you're still going, what is this movie like? What is it about? And it's just interesting, I guess, to say the least. But those are kind of my thoughts and opinions on it. I'm going to have to say that this is a certified Hot Pocket hand grenade. I do not see a reason on why you would rewatch this or why you should seek it out. I think that this is a very empty calories type movie. It's not even good junk food because it doesn't taste good either. And so yeah, certified Hot Pocket hand grenade movie. I can see a good version of this movie, but it just needed more script revisions. It just needed more meat on the bone, I guess is the best way to put it. But yeah, certified Hot Pocket hand grenade movie. And that's all I really have to say. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment down below your thoughts and opinions on him, if you've seen it, or now you're planning on seeing it, which I don't really understand how you would have gotten to that conclusion. But yeah, and subscribe if you haven't already. And other than that, I'll leave you guys to it. Till next time, bye.